And today's devotion is entitled Pausing in His Presence. The memory text is taken from Luke chapter 5, 15 and 16. I will read it from a Bible from the King James Version. But so much the more went there a fame abroad of him, and great multitudes came together to hear and to be healed by him of their infirmities. And he withdrew himself into the wilderness and prayed. It is the same verse here. Yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. So we know Jesus as the Son of God on this earthly ministry. His major duty was to heal the sick. That was his main intention, to heal people not only of physical ailments, but also to cleanse them mentally and also to give them health in their spiritual life as well. So he was a holistic healer and he was able to do all things. So when he was in this point of time, people were always behind him for healing. But what Jesus did was, Jesus went away to lonely places and prayed. He withdrew himself from the people and he prayed. So that is what the today's devotion is about, pausing in his presence. So here the writer gives an illustration about her daily living. So she had gone to a beach where she was all alone without anybody around her, and she was only looking at the waves at the beach splashing here and there. And then suddenly a thought came to her and she realized it. She pictured Jesus Christ standing before the Sea of Galilee. So, the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus' ministry was, he was with his disciples preaching, healing, and delivering people. So, with his crowd and followers. So, she imagined the same picture in front of her at the beach. She was imagining Jesus in the Sea of Galilee and followers around him. In the lonely stillness of that morning, she realized even though Jesus spent most of his time with people, talking to them, making friends, healing them, but what he did mainly was he valued his private, quiet times of prayer. He did this very often. And that's what the Gospel of Matthew records. After a long day of teaching, Jesus left his disciples and crowd, and they went up on a mountainside by himself to pray alone. Matthew 14:23. So, what these verses depict in our today's life is, even when life gets busy, we have to always neglect ourselves from the surroundings, the circumstances, just like how Jesus got away from the noise of life and came purposely before the Father in silence and solitude. Alone, he came away from all the people and he spent personal time with his heavenly Father. So, the same way, we have to be comfortable with silence at times. Not at all at times, but every day we need to have a personal time of prayer with God alone. That is very important to strengthen our spiritual, mental, and physical health as well, and our daily well being. So, this writer states here, she has never been good at being silent, and she always likes to be around people, and she forgets God at times. But on that day when she was in that beach all alone, when she saw those waves, she instantly thought of Jesus by the Sea of Galilee in the silence and stillness of the beach. So at that time she experienced the fullness of God, how when being silent, how in the different ways God can speak and can renew her experience and relationship with God. So she says, the more that you neglect yourselves from the noise of the world, the closer it is an opportunity to get closer to the Creator. That's how she got to know more about God in the silence and stillness of the beach. She was away from people and she saw the beautiful creation and thought of how Jesus would have walked at the Sea of Galilee with his people. And he also wanted a lonely time of prayer. So by thinking about the worldly scenarios or the news or anything that loses our peace, instead we can choose to be still, to stay away from the noise of this life and get closer to God with his holy angels, and to seek him in solitude and silence. So this is an encouragement for me and you and each and everyone to practice the art of listening to God in silence, pausing for God to speak in your prayers, because God does speak in every way possible. And I know that as you make space for God to speak, he will definitely speak to you and me.